Ta-da! So I picked up a welder. Pretty, isn't it? This is a Horbart Handler 210 NVP. Got this because it's 210 amps. It should weld up to about 3/8 thick steel. I don't ever think I'll ever weld anything that thick, but you never know. It'll weld down to 24 gauge sheet metal. The MVP means multi-voltage processing, which you can see here, 115 volts and 230 volts. So what do you get inside this box? It says here that we get a gun with a 10-foot cable, a working clamp with also a 10-foot cable, 115 and 230 plugs, a regulator and gas hose, flux core wire, and 2 contact tips. Alright, let's see what's in the box. Ooh! So we got our cable, torch. This must be for the switch. Got our regulator. Got some covers on this so none of this foam gets in there. And here, let's just open it up. You got your 230 50 amp. I guess this says 250 50 amp. That's funny. It's got Miller stamped into it. I always kind of assumed that Horbart was just kind of like a Chinese version of Miller. So there's some Miller parts on this. You got your 115 volt, 15 amp. That also says Miller on it. Got your gas hose. This will run to the welder, and this will go to the regulator. Contact information for Horbart. Hey, that's cool. You got a little gauge tool. It tells you what gauge metal you're working with here. That's a nice little surprise. You got 2 contact tips. Looks like they're both for 030. A little product warranty paperwork. Your owner's manual. Operating instructions for single and 2-stage regulators. Alright. Looks like you got some 030 flux core wire. I'm guessing the FC here means flux core. Got your working clamp. Pretty stiff. Looks pretty cheap though. Looks like it's all galvanized, coated. My guess is steel. And you got the welder. It's like, oh, this is the ground wire. Not much on the back here. Got a little cap here for, I'm guessing, the gas. Your power cord. Bzz. Cool. So this machine, actually, there's an option for a spool gun right here. Your normal gun and your spool gun connect here. My guess is there's some kind of switch internally that switches it from spool to your regular MIG gun. This wire here is just for your ground. Kind of a small cable. 6 gauge. 25 to 100, 210 amp output. You got your temp overheat. Do not switch while welding. Looks like you got 7 taps here. You got infinite adjustability on your wire feed. Yeah. It's a welder. So, inside, you got your wire feed mechanism. You got your adjustment for your electrode. You got your spindle where your spool of wire goes. And then also you got a chart. So on this chart you got your different flavors of metal. You got your steel, stainless steel, steel again but for flux core, and aluminum. Different wire types, so you got your solid wire. It also gives you your polarity settings, so you have DC electrode positive, or for flux core you have to have DC electrode negative. So that gives you your selection. It also gives you a recommendation for your grade of wire. And then you have your shielding gas. No shielding gas for flux core. You know, you got 100% argon for your aluminum, trimix for your stainless steel, and then you got 2 options for your regular mild steel, which is C25, which is 25% CO2 and 75% argon. You got your 100% CO2 and the settings associated with that. Next is your input voltage, either 230 or 115, different wire diameters. So you got 024, 030, 035 for each one of these. And then your recommended settings for your different thicknesses of material. And then over here you have your different polarity settings. So DC electrode negative, your electrode is negative. DC electrode positive, your electrode goes on the positive. So let's see what we got here. So right now it looks like the electrode is set on positive. So right now we're set up for solid wire. If we wanted to do any welding with this flux core wire, we'd have to take these 2 terminals and switch them. Basically put the electrode on the negative side, which is pretty simple. Loosen the nuts, take your electrode off, switch the wire for the actual welder to this side, and move your electrode to the negative. Tighten down the nuts. Ta-da! That ought to work. Also, you got your switch for your different guns. You got your regular old shielding gas gun here, and then you got your spool gun. So there's two O-rings here. You might want to lube them up a little bit. I don't really know what you'd lube them up with. Maybe just a minimal amount of like WD-40. Just so it don't go in there dry. Just gotta slide that in the housing until it bottoms out. And then tighten your screw. You can see the liner for the wire sticking out here. Alright, then you just plug in your switch. This only fits on one way. Just don't force it. Just like that. So you tighten. Here's a left-hand thread. Kind of bent over there. Do not try and send that in through your welder or through your liner. It'll just ruin it. For these smaller rolls, you have to take this off of here. So you got your nut. Got a little spring. You got a washer. And your drive adapter. So now you just take your wire, snip the end, and you don't want to let go of that. Stick your washer on there, stick your nut or your spring, and then your nut. Tighten it up. I think what you want is this nut to be just tight enough that it keeps this wheel or the spool from unraveling. So it should still move when the wire's pulled, but shouldn't backspin. Should be able to just let it go like that. And we'll feed it into the liner. Doesn't really line up. Alright. Got it fed into the liner. And now we just power this dude on until we get wire to come out the end. Looks like this only fits one way. Slide that dude down. Tighten the nut up. We're set up for 115 volts. got that on there. We'll put our contact tip on. Wow. That is a tight fit. But it's on there. You don't necessarily need this for flux core, but if I don't put it back on there, I will lose it. I think we're ready to rock. So now that we got our torch set up and our wire in there, we had to attach our cable to our clamp, and it's just a 10 millimeter here. Just attach this eyelet. There's two washers in there. I put this ring terminal underneath those two washers, smashed it with a nut. Seems to be holding. One thing is these clamps aren't the greatest in the world, kind of cheap, but what you can do is strip back wire about this size, take all the insulation off of it, and when you clamp it on your workpiece, you can wrap it around in the clamp itself. So instead of 3 points of contact, you have hundreds, and that just helps your welding. But for tonight, we're going to stick with this. I can't see shit. Dang. It's awfully hot. Fresh layer of bird shit. Well, there you go, guys. That is the Horbart Handler 210 MVP. By no means am I a welder or pretend to be. My training is pretty limited, so I would just consider myself as a hobbyist. If you guys are looking for a good channel for welding, I would recommend Jody Collier over at Welding Tips and Tricks. Great content. He can answer anything and everything you want to know about welding. So go give him a visit. That's actually where I seen this welder. Was pretty impressed what he was able to do with it. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.